The Valari Empire was very old. It covered 12 star systems and had ruled for thousands of years before humans even learned to make fire. The Valari people were tall, beautiful, and proud. They had silver skin that shone like metal under starlight. Their eyes were golden, like liquid amber. They lived for 300 years, and they believed they were better than every other species in the galaxy. In Valari culture, children were everything. A person's worth was measured by the children they could produce. Strong bloodlines meant power. Weak bloodlines meant shame. And no children at all meant you were worthless. Princess Yura was born under a dying moon. The old priests said this was a bad sign. They were right. Yura was the third daughter of Emperor Varath, ruler of the Valari Empire. Her two older sisters were beautiful and fertile. They married powerful lords and gave the emperor many grandchildren. But Yura was different. When she was 16 years old, the palace doctors examined her and gave the emperor terrible news. The princess cannot have children, they said. Her body is broken. She will never produce an heir. From that day forward, Yura became invisible. Her sisters stopped speaking to her. The court nobles looked through her as if she was made of glass. Her own father could not meet her eyes. She was a stain on the royal bloodline, a reminder that even emperors could produce failures. For 30 years, Yura lived in the shadows of the palace. She read books. She studied languages. She learned everything she could about the galaxy, because learning was the only thing that made her feel alive. But no matter how much she learned, no matter how hard she tried, she could not escape what she was: barren, broken, worthless. Then the Galactic Council made a new law. All member species had to participate in cultural exchange programs. They would send ambassadors to live with other species for 3 years. The goal was to build understanding between different worlds. The Emperor's advisors saw an opportunity. "We have a problem," said High Chancellor Mekris during a private meeting. He was a tall, thin man with cold eyes and a cruel smile. "We must send someone to the humans." The other advisors made sounds of disgust. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had only discovered space travel 50 years ago. They were small, weak, and they lived for less than 100 years. Most Valari considered them little better than animals. "Send a minor noble," suggested one advisor. "Someone unimportant." "No," said Mekris, and his smile grew wider. "I have a better idea. Send the third princess." The room went silent. Then someone laughed. Then everyone laughed. "Perfect," said another advisor, wiping tears from his eyes. "The barren princess for the primitive species. They deserve each other." Emperor Varath heard the plan and approved it. He did not laugh, but he did not object either. Perhaps he was tired of seeing his failed daughter in his palace. Perhaps he simply did not care. Yura was summoned to the throne room. She stood before her father in her finest robes, her silver skin gleaming under the crystal lights. She kept her face calm and empty, the way she had learned to do over 30 years of silent suffering. "You will go to Earth," the Emperor said. "You will live among the humans for 3 years as our cultural ambassador. Consider it an honor." Yura knew it was not an honor. She could see the smirks on the advisors' faces. She could hear the hidden laughter in their silence. They were sending her away because she embarrassed them. They were sending her to the most primitive species in the galaxy because they thought it was funny. She bowed low. "As you command, Father." She did not cry. She had stopped crying long ago. 3 weeks later, Yura boarded a transport ship and left Valari Prime. She did not look back. There was nothing to look back for. The journey to Earth took 2 months. Yura spent the time learning about her destination. Earth was a small blue planet with 1 moon. It had water, forests, and mountains. The dominant species called themselves humans. They were short, soft, and incredibly emotional. They laughed easily, cried easily, and touched each other constantly. Valari found this behavior very strange. Yura would live in a country called Korea. Her host was a human named Kang Do-hyun. The file said he was 32 years old. He worked as a veterinarian, which meant he was a doctor for animals. His wife had died 2 years ago from a disease. He had no children. He lived alone in a small house in the countryside, near mountains and rivers. I stared at his picture for a long time. He had dark hair, dark eyes, and a gentle face. He was smiling in the photo, but his eyes looked sad. He is lonely, she thought. Like me. When the transport ship landed on Earth, Yura felt the difference immediately. The gravity was stronger here. Her body felt heavy. The air was thick and full of strange smells. Oxygen, water, plants, animals. Everything was alive in a way that Valari Prime was not. She walked through the arrival terminal, towering over the humans around her. They stared at her with wide eyes and open mouths. Some pointed. Some took pictures with small devices. A child started crying. While Ara kept walking. She was used to being stared at. She was used to being seen as strange and wrong. Then she saw him. Kang Do-hyun stood near the exit, holding a large piece of paper. On it, he had written in careful letters, "Princess Yura, welcome to Earth." He was shorter than she expected. The top of his head barely reached her shoulder. His clothes were simple and slightly wrinkled. His hair was messy, like he had forgotten to comb it. But when he saw her, he smiled. It was not a polite smile or a formal smile. It was real. His whole face changed, becoming warm and bright. He bowed to her, the way Koreans showed respect. "Princess Yura," he said in careful galactic common. "I am Kang Do-hyun. Welcome to my planet. I hope your journey was not too difficult." He paused, looking nervous. "I made dinner. I was not sure what you eat, so I made many different things. I hope something will be okay." Yura stared at him. In 30 years at the Valari court, no one had ever cooked for her. Servants prepared food and placed it before her. It was a duty, not a gift. This human had cooked for her himself, because he wanted to welcome her, because he cared whether she was comfortable. Something strange happened in Yura's chest. A small, warm feeling she did not recognize. "Thank you," she said. Her voice sounded different to her own ears, softer. "That is very kind." Do-hyun's smile grew even brighter. "Please, come. My car is outside. It is a long drive to my home, but the mountains are very beautiful at sunset. I think you will like them." He picked up her bags before she could stop him. He was not strong enough to carry them easily, but he refused to let her help. "You are my guest," he said firmly. "Guests do not carry their own bags." Yura followed him out of the terminal and into the warm evening air of Earth. The sky was turning orange and pink. Birds were singing in distant trees. Everything smelled like life and growth and possibility. For the first time in 30 years, Yura felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. The first weeks on Earth were very hard for Yira. Everything was different. Everything was wrong. The gravity pulled at her body like invisible hands, making her tired after just walking across a room. The sunlight was too bright and too yellow. The air was so thick with oxygen that she felt dizzy for days. But the hardest part was the humans themselves. They were everywhere. They moved so fast, talked so loud, and felt so much. In the Valari court, emotions were hidden. People wore masks of calm and spoke in careful, measured words. But humans let everything show on their faces. They laughed with their whole bodies. They cried without shame. They touched each other constantly, hugging, patting shoulders, holding hands. Yura did not know how to exist among such open creatures. Do-hyun was patient with her. He never rushed her or made her feel strange for struggling. When she could not figure out how to use the eating sticks called chopsticks, he showed her again and again without laughing. When she accidentally broke a door handle because she did not know her own strength in Earth's gravity, he simply fixed it and said nothing. "Your planet is very confusing," Yura told him one evening. They were sitting on the small porch behind his house, watching the sun disappear behind the mountains. "Yes," Do-Yoon agreed. "But every planet is confusing at first. Even this one confused me when I was young. You were born here. That does not mean I understood it." He smiled at some private memory. "When I was a child, I thought the moon was following me. Wherever I walked, it was always above me. I was afraid of it for years." Yura looked at him. "That is not logical. The moon orbits the planet. It does not follow individual people. I know that now. But I was 5 years old. Logic was not my strength." He laughed softly. "My point is that all places are strange until we learn to love them. Give Earth time. It will become familiar." Yura was not sure she believed him, but she wanted to try. Do-Yoon's veterinary clinic was attached to his house. Every day, people brought their animals for him to help. Dogs, cats, rabbits, birds, and creatures Yura had never seen before. She watched him work and was amazed by his gentleness. On Valari Prime, animals were tools or food. No one kept them as companions. But humans loved their animals like family members. They cried when their pets were sick. They celebrated when they got better. They gave them names and talked to them and carried pictures of them in their pockets. "Why do you do this?" Yura asked one day. She was watching Do-Yoon examine a very old dog whose back legs no longer worked properly. "Do what?" "Care for them so much. They are just animals. They will die in a few years anyway." Do-Yoon did not answer right away. He finished his examination and gave the dog's owner instructions for medicine. The old woman thanked him with tears in her eyes and carried her dog away like it was a baby. "Because they feel pain," Do-Yoon finally said. "And they feel love. Just because something will end does not mean it has no value. My wife only lived 30 years, but her life mattered. This dog has only a few months left, but those months matter to her owner." He looked at Yura with his gentle dark eyes. Short lives can still be full lives. Yura thought about this for a long time. One afternoon, a farmer brought in a puppy that had been abandoned in a field. It was small, dirty, and terrified. It shook and cried and tried to bite anyone who touched it. "Poor thing," Do-Yoon said softly. "It does not trust people yet. Someone must have hurt it. What will you do with it?" "Clean it, feed it, and try to make it understand that not all hands will harm it." He sighed. "It will take time. Trust is not given. It must be earned." Yura watched him work. The puppy snarled and snapped, but Do-Yoon did not give up. He spoke to it in a low, calm voice. He moved slowly. He offered food from his hand and waited patiently for the puppy to take it. After 2 hours, the puppy finally let Do-Yoon touch its head. "Would you like to try?" he asked Yura. She hesitated. "I do not know how. Just be gentle. Let it smell you first. Show it you mean no harm." Yura knelt beside the small creature. It looked at her with frightened eyes. She could see herself in those eyes, a monster from another world, silver and strange and terrifying. Slowly, she extended her hand. The puppy sniffed it. Then, to her amazement, it licked her fingers. "See?" Do-Yoon smiled. "It likes you. You have gentle hands." Yura felt that strange warmth in her chest again. "On my world, I am considered defective," she said quietly. The words came out before she could stop them. "Broken. Worthless." Do-Yoon was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was firm. "On this world, we do not measure a person's worth by what they can produce, only by who they are. And from what I have seen, you are kind, intelligent, and willing to learn. Those things matter more than anything else. Yira did not know how to respond. No one had ever said such things to her. As the months passed, Yira began to change. She started wearing human clothes because they were more comfortable. She learned to cook Korean food from Do-Hyun's neighbor, a kind old woman everyone called Grandma Yoonji. Too skinny, Grandma Yoonji declared the first time they met, poking Yira's arm. All tall girls are too skinny. I will teach you to make proper food. Yira tried to explain that Valari did not eat the same things as humans, but Grandma Yoonji did not care. She taught Yira to make kimchi jjigae and japchae and other dishes with names Yira could barely pronounce. The old woman talked constantly, asking questions about Yira's planet and telling stories about her own long life. My husband was a farmer, she said one day while they cooked together. He died 15 years ago. I still cook his favorite meal sometimes. Habit, I suppose. She looked at Yira with sharp old eyes. Do-Hyun is a good man. His wife's death broke him. But you are fixing him. I am not doing anything, Yira protested. Grandma Yoonji just smiled. Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing. Sometimes people just need someone to be there. Yira also became friends with Do-Hyun's younger sister, Nari. She was 28 years old and worked as a marine biologist. She studied the creatures that lived in Earth's oceans. You have to see the sea, Nari insisted one weekend. You cannot live on Earth and never see the ocean. So they drove for hours to the coast. And Yira saw the sea for the first time. She stood on the beach with waves touching her feet, and she could not speak. The water stretched to the horizon, blue and green and endless. It moved like it was alive, breathing in and out, in and out. The sound of it filled her ears. It is like liquid sky, she finally whispered. Nari laughed. That is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever said about seawater. I am writing that down. On the drive home, Yira realized she was happy. Not content. Not calm. Actually happy. It was a feeling she had almost forgotten existed. That night, she and Do-Hyun sat on their porch, as they often did, watching stars appear one by one. Thank you, she said. For what? For making me feel like I belong somewhere. She paused. I have never belonged anywhere before. Do-Hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached over and took her hand. His hand was warm and small compared to hers. But it fit perfectly. I am glad you came here, he said softly. Before you arrived, this house was very empty. I was very empty. But now it feels like home again. Yira looked at him. His face was illuminated by starlight and the glow from the window behind them. He was not handsome by Valari standards. He was not powerful or important. He was just a simple man who healed animals and cooked dinner and held her hand under the stars. And she realized she loved him. Do-Hyun, she said. Double yes. I need to tell you something. On my world, I am barren. I cannot have children. I can never give you a family. If that matters to you, then we should not continue down this path. Do-Hyun squeezed her hand. I am not asking you for children. I am not asking you for anything you cannot give. He turned to face her, his dark eyes serious. I am just asking for you. Just as you are. That is enough. That is more than enough. Yira felt tears on her face. She had not cried in decades, but these were not tears of sadness. They got married in the spring. When the cherry trees were blooming, it was a small ceremony. They held it in the garden behind Do-Hyun's clinic, surrounded by flowers and the sound of birds singing. There were no politicians or nobles or important people. Just Nari, Grandma Yoonji, and a handful of neighbors who had come to love their tall, silver-skinned resident. Yira wore white, because that was the human tradition. The dress had to be specially made because she was so tall, but Grandma Yunji knew a seamstress who was very determined. The result was simple but beautiful. Do-hyun cried when he saw her walking toward him through the garden. "You look like a goddess," he whispered. "You look like a man who forgot to comb his hair," she replied. Everyone laughed. Nari quickly fixed her brother's messy hair while he wiped his tears. The ceremony was short and sweet. They exchanged promises to love and protect each other. They put rings on each other's fingers. And when Do-hyun stood on his toes to kiss his bride, everyone cheered Dot for the first time in her life. Yura felt truly complete. The next 18 months were the happiest of Yura's existence. She and Do-hyun fell into an easy rhythm. They woke up together, ate breakfast together, and worked together at the clinic. Yura had become Do-hyun's unofficial assistant. The animals liked her calm presence, and she liked being useful. In the evenings, they cooked dinner or visited Grandma Yunji, or took walks through the mountains. On weekends, Nari sometimes came to visit, and they would drive to the ocean or explore nearby towns. Yura sent reports back to Valari Prime every month, as required by her ambassador duties. She kept them short and formal. She did not mention her marriage. She knew the court would not care, or worse, would find it amusing. The Baron Princess married a primitive human. How pathetic. How sad. Let them laugh, Yura thought. I have never been happier. Then, everything changed. It started with small things. Yura felt tired all the time, even after sleeping for many hours. Her stomach was upset every morning. She lost her appetite for most foods, but suddenly craved kimchi, which she had previously found too spicy. Maybe you caught a human illness, Do-hyun worried. We should see a doctor. Valari do not get human illnesses. Our biology is completely different. But the symptoms continued. Yura grew weaker and more exhausted. Strange changes happened in her body. Things that should not happen to any Valari, especially not a barren one. Finally, Do-hyun insisted on taking her to Seoul, where there was a hospital that specialized in treating non-human species. The head doctor was a young woman named Beek, Soman, who had studied alien biology for 10 years. Dr. Beek ran every test available. She took blood samples, tissue samples, and scans of every part of Yura's body. She consulted with Valari medical databases and human specialists. The testing took 2 full days. On the 3rd day, she called them into her office. Dr. Beek sat behind her desk, staring at her computer screen with an expression Yura could not read. She looked shocked. She looked confused. She looked like she had seen something impossible. I need to tell you something, she said slowly, but I am not sure you will believe me. Yura's heart began to beat faster. What is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong. Dr. Beek turned her screen so they could see it. According to every biological principle we know, this should not be possible. Humans and Valari are completely different species. Your genetics are not compatible. Interspecies conception between your 2 species has never been recorded anywhere in the galaxy. She paused and took a deep breath. But you are pregnant, 14 weeks along, and the baby appears to be healthy. Silence filled the room. Yura heard the words, but they did not make sense. They could not make sense. She was barren. Every doctor on Valari Prime had confirmed it. Her body was broken. She could not create life. That is impossible, she whispered. Yes, Dr. Beek agreed. It is impossible. And yet, here we are. Do-hyun was gripping Yura's hand so hard it almost hurt. His face was white with shock. Are you sure? Could the test be wrong? I ran them 7 times. I had 3 other doctors confirm them. There is no mistake. Dr. Beek leaned forward. I do not know how this happened. I do not know why your bodies created something that should not exist. But it did. You are going to have a child. Yura put her free hand on her stomach. Somewhere inside her, something was growing. Something alive. Something impossible. A baby, she breathed. I am having a baby. And then she started crying. Not quiet tears like before, but deep, shaking sobs that came from somewhere she had locked away 30 years ago. All the pain, all the shame, all the years of being called worthless and broken came pouring out of her. Duhayan held her. He cried too, though his tears were joyful. Dr. Beek politely stepped out to give them privacy. We are having a baby, Doyan kept saying. Yura, we are having a baby. How? She gasped between sobs. How is this possible? I do not know. I do not care. He pulled back to look at her face, his eyes shining. You are not broken. You were never broken. You just needed the right soil to grow. They held each other for a long time. The news spread faster than light. Yura had to report her pregnancy to the Valari ambassador office, and from there it reached the imperial court within hours. The reaction was immediate and extreme. High Chancellor Mekris sent urgent messages demanding she return to Valari Prime immediately. Emperor Varath ordered a full investigation. The Council of Bloodlines, which governed all matters of royal genetics, convened emergency meetings that lasted for days. Scientists across the galaxy went mad with excitement. A human-Valari hybrid was unprecedented. It could change everything they knew about interspecies biology. Research institutions sent thousands of requests for access to Yura and her unborn child. They want to study you like a specimen, Nari said angrily when she heard. She had driven up from the coast as soon as Dohyun called her. They do not care about you or the baby. They just want to pick you apart. The Valari certainly do not care, Yura agreed bitterly. They sent me here as a joke. Now that the joke has turned into something valuable, they want to claim ownership. Chancellor Mekris appeared on a video call, his face cold and demanding. You will return to Valari Prime at once. The child belongs to the imperial bloodline. It must be born under proper supervision. The child belongs to its parents, Dohyun interrupted. He stepped into the frame beside his wife. It will be born here on Earth, surrounded by people who love it. You have no authority here, human. This is a matter of Valari genetics and Valari politics. You are merely a primitive host who served an accidental purpose. Dohyun's gentle face hardened. I am her husband. I am the father of that child. And I am telling you that my family is not going anywhere. He reached forward and ended the call. Yura stared at him. You just hung up on the High Chancellor of the Valari Empire. Yes, he is one of the most powerful people in the galaxy. Yes, he will be very angry. Dohyun shrugged. Good, let him be angry. Let them all be angry. You are my wife. That is our baby. No one takes my family. Yura pulled him into her arms. For such a small, soft human, he had more courage than anyone she had ever known. Grandma Yunji showed up the next day with enough food to feed an army. I heard you are having a baby, she announced, pushing past them into the house. Pregnant women need proper meals. Also, I brought my grandmother's lucky blanket for the nursery. Every baby in my family has been wrapped in this blanket. It has never failed. Yunji-see, this is very kind, but no arguing. I have adopted you. That means this baby is my grandchild too. She patted Yura's stomach firmly. Hello in there, little one. Your human grandma is here. Yura did not know what to say, so she just hugged the small old woman and let her take over the kitchen. That night, lying in bed with Dohyun's hand on her belly, Yura thought about everything that had happened. A year ago, she had been in exile, sent away as a cruel joke. Now she had a husband who loved her, friends who supported her, and a baby growing inside her. Impossible. But here she was. Are you scared? Do-hyun asked softly. Terrified, she admitted. The pregnancy may be dangerous. The baby may be unusual. My people may try to take it away. Everything could go wrong. That is a lot of fears. Yes. Do-hyun moved closer, pressing his forehead against hers. Then let me help you carry them. That is what husbands are for. Yira closed her eyes. I love you. I love you too. Both of you. And despite everything, despite all the chaos and uncertainty and fear, Yira smiled. Whatever came next, she would not face it alone. The pregnancy was the hardest thing Yira had ever experienced. Her body was not designed to carry a hybrid child. The baby was part human, part Valari, and something entirely new. Yura's system struggled to understand what was happening inside her. Some days she could barely stand. Other days she was so sick she could not keep any food down. Dr. Beek moved into a small hotel near their house. She visited every day, sometimes twice. She worked with Valari medical databases and human pregnancy specialists to create treatments that had never existed before. Every decision was a guess. Every day was an experiment. Her body keeps fighting itself, Dr. Beek explained to Do-hyun one evening. Yura was asleep upstairs, exhausted from another difficult day. The Valari immune system sees the human DNA as an invader. We have to constantly balance keeping the baby safe while not hurting Yura. But the baby is okay? Do-hyun asked. His face was pale and thin. He had lost weight from worry. The baby is surprisingly strong. Hybrid vigor, we call it. When two very different genetic lines combine, sometimes the result is healthier than either parent. Dr. Beek paused. But Yura is getting weaker. If this continues, we may have to make difficult choices. Do-hyun did not sleep that night. He sat beside his wife's bed, holding her hand, watching her breathe. In the morning, Yura woke up and saw him there. You look terrible, she said. I did not sleep. I noticed. She squeezed his hand weakly. You cannot do this every night. You will make yourself sick. I cannot help it. I am scared. Yura pulled him closer. Even weak and sick, she was still stronger than him. Tell me what you fear. Losing you. Losing the baby. Not being enough. His voice broke. I am just a small human. I am not important. I cannot fight emperors or change the galaxy. All I can do is sit here and watch you suffer and feel useless. Yura touched his face. You are not useless. You are everything. I do not feel like everything. Then let me tell you what you are. She took a slow breath. Before I came here, I was empty. I had nothing to live for. My own family threw me away like trash. I had given up on ever being happy. She met his eyes. Then I met a human who cooked dinner for me before we even spoke, who taught me to use chopsticks and held my hand under the stars, who told me I was not broken, that I just needed the right soil. Tears ran down Do-hyun's face. You gave me a reason to live, Yura continued. You gave me a home. You gave me a family. And now you are giving me a child that the entire galaxy said was impossible. She kissed his forehead. If that is not enough, then nothing is. They held each other until the sun rose. The final months were the worst. Yira was confined to bed. Her silver skin had turned pale gray. She could barely eat. The baby was growing strong, but Yira was fading. Do-hyun read every medical journal he could find. He called specialists across 3 continents. He converted the spare bedroom into a nursery, painting the ceiling with Earth constellations on one side and Valari star maps on the other. I want the baby to know both worlds, he explained to Nari when she helped him hang the mobile over the crib. Whatever happens, I want our child to understand where they came from. Do not talk like that, Nari said sharply. Yira is strong. She will get through this. I know. But his voice wavered. Grandma Yunji came every day with food and prayers. She sat beside Yura's bed and told her stories about Korea in the old days, about wars and hardships and people who survived impossible things. "You think this is hard?" she said. "My grandmother survived the war with nothing but a bag of rice and a stubborn heart. She walked 300 kilometers with my father on her back. She did not give up because giving up was not an option." She took Yura's hand. "You come from warriors too, yes? Silver warriors from the stars." "The Valari were conquerors," Yura admitted. "Thousands of years ago, before we became civilized." "Good. Then you have fighting blood. Use it." Grandma Yunji squeezed her hand firmly. "Fight for yourself. Fight for your baby. Fight for that silly man downstairs who cannot eat because he is too busy worrying about you." Yura laughed weakly. "Yes, grandmother. That is better. Now eat this soup before it gets cold." As her due date approached, Yura grew both stronger and weaker. Her body was failing, but her spirit was fierce. She refused to let the doctors prepare for the worst. She refused to discuss alternatives. "This baby will be born," she told Dr. Beek, "and I will be there to hold it. Yura, we should talk about possibilities." "No, I have spent 30 years being told what is impossible. I am tired of impossible. I am going to do this." Dr. Beek looked at Do-yoon helplessly. He just shrugged. "When she makes up her mind, there is no changing it," he said. "Trust me. I have tried." The baby came on a snowy night in December. Yura's body went into labor 3 weeks early. Do-yoon called Dr. Beek, who arrived within minutes with her medical team. Grandma Yunji started boiling water and preparing clean cloths. Nari drove through a blizzard to be there. The birth was long and dangerous. Several times, Yura's vital signs dropped to critical levels. Dr. Beek had to make split-second decisions that could mean life or death. Through it all, Do-yoon held his wife's hand. "I am here," he kept saying. "I am not leaving. You can do this." "It hurts," Yura gasped. "It hurts so much." "I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Do not apologize." She gripped his hand hard enough to bruise. "Just stay." He stayed. At 3:47 in the morning, with snow falling outside and the whole house holding its breath. A baby's cry filled the room. Dr. B caught the tiny form and lifted it for everyone to see. "It is a girl," she announced, her voice shaking with emotion. "She is alive. She is healthy." The baby was small, smaller than human newborns, smaller than Valari ones. Her skin was a soft silver color, but with a warm undertone that humans had. Her hair was dark like her father's. And when she opened her eyes for the first time, they were Do-yoon's eyes. Dark brown and full of wonder. "Give her to me," Yura whispered. Her voice was barely audible. "Please, let me hold her." Dr. Beek placed the baby in Yura's arms. Yura looked down at her daughter. This impossible creature. This miracle that should not exist. This tiny person who was half of her and half of the human she loved. "Hello," she breathed. "Hello, little one. I am your mother." The baby blinked at her, then made a soft cooing sound. Yura started crying. Not sad tears, not painful tears, but tears of pure, overwhelming joy. Do-hyun leaned over them both, his face wet. "She is beautiful. She is perfect. She is impossible," Yura corrected, smiling through her tears. "And she is ours." They named her Kang Sola.Sol for the Earth sun that warmed their home. From the Valari word for new beginning. A name from both worlds for a child who belonged to both. In the quiet hours after the birth. While Yura slept and the baby nursed, Do-hyun sat by the window and watched the snowfall. His sister came to sit beside him. "How do you feel?" Nari asked. "Terrified. Happy. Grateful. He paused. Like everything has changed, and nothing will ever be the same. That sounds about right for becoming a father. He laughed softly. She is so small, so fragile. How do I protect something so tiny? Nari put her arm around him. The same way you protect everything. One day at a time. One small act of love at a time. She looked over at the bed where Yura and Sola slept together. You have already done the impossible. The rest is just details. Dahyun looked at his family. His wife from the stars. His daughter who should not exist. A year and a half ago, he had been a lonely man with an empty house and a broken heart. Now he had everything he never knew he wanted. Thank you, he whispered to no one in particular. Maybe to the universe. Maybe to whatever force had brought Yura to his door. The snow continued to fall, covering the world in white dot, and inside the small house in the mountains, a new family slept peacefully. Yura's 3-year ambassadorship ended on a bright spring day. The Valari Empire sent an official delegation to retrieve her. They landed at a private facility outside Seoul, surrounded by security forces and watched by cameras from dozens of worlds. The whole galaxy was paying attention. High Chancellor Mekris emerged first from the silver ship. He wore his finest robes, and his face was carved from cold stone. Behind him walked 2 tall Valari women in royal gowns. Yura's sisters, Princess Velith and Princess Norath.Yira, had not seen them in 3 years. Once, she would have been afraid of them. Once, their contempt would have made her want to disappear. Not anymore. Yura stood in front of the clinic where she had found love. She wore simple human clothes, a white dress, and a blue jacket. Her silver hair was braided in the Korean style that Grandma Yoonji had taught her. She was not alone. Dahyun stood at her right side, wearing his best suit. It was slightly too big for him and had a small stain on the sleeve, but he stood straight and proud. Nari stood at her left side, arms crossed, glaring at the aliens with fire in her eyes. She had once told Yura that she would punch any alien who tried to take her sister-in-law away. Yura believed her. Behind them stood their neighbors. Grandma Yoonji with her walking stick. The old couple from the noodle restaurant. The farmer whose puppy Yura had helped save. Dr. Beek and her medical team. Ordinary humans who had become family. And in Yura's arms, wrapped in the lucky blanket that Grandma Yoonji had given her, was baby Sola. The child was 6 months old now. She had grown stronger every day. Her silver skin had settled into a beautiful shade, pale like moonlight but warm like honey underneath. Her dark eyes were curious and bright. She looked at the world like everything was a wonder waiting to be discovered. Chris stopped 10 feet away. His golden eyes moved from Yura to the baby, and something flickered across his face. Shock, perhaps. Or disbelief. This is the child. He asked. Her name is Sola, Yura said calmly. She is my daughter, heir to my bloodline, and a citizen of Earth. You cannot simply claim. I can. Yura's voice cut through his words like a blade. I was sent here as a joke, a discard. The barren princess, exiled to live among primitives because my own family found it amusing. She stepped forward, and despite himself, Mekris stepped back. But these primitives showed me more kindness in 3 years than the Valari court showed me in 30. She held her daughter higher so everyone could see her. Their medicine healed what your physicians called impossible. Their culture values life in ways our empire has forgotten. They did not see me as broken. They saw me as worthy of love. Sola made a happy gurgling sound, completely unaware of the political earthquake happening around her. I will return to Valari Prime, Yura continued. I will present my daughter to the council, and I will tell them what I have learned. Humans are not primitives to be mocked. They are partners to be respected, because they achieved something our greatest scientists could not. They helped me create life." Silence stretched across the landing field. Then Princess Velith moved. She stepped past Mekris, her eyes fixed on the baby. For a moment, Yura tensed, ready to protect her child. But Velith stopped at a respectful distance. "May I see her?" she asked. Her voice was different than Yura remembered. Softer, less certain. Yura hesitated, then nodded. Alice leaned down to look at her niece. Sola reached up with one tiny hand and grabbed Velith's finger. The grip was surprisingly strong. Something changed in Velith's face. The mask cracked. Underneath was something almost like wonder. "She has father's eyes," she murmured. "The shape. The old bloodline. She has her father's heart," Yura corrected gently, looking at Doyun. "And that matters more." Velith looked at the human man. He was small and soft and entirely unimpressive by Valari standards. But he met her gaze without fear. "You love my sister," she said. It was not a question. "More than anything in the universe," he answered. "And you would fight for her?" "I already have. I will do it again, as many times as needed." Velith studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she bowed. It was a small bow, not very deep, but it was a bow. A sign of respect from a Valari princess to a human veterinarian. "Then she chose well," Velith said quietly. Norith, the other sister, came forward too. She looked at the baby, then at Yura, then at the gathering of humans behind her. "You have built a family here," she observed. "Yes, a strange family. Different species, different worlds. The best families are always strange," Grandma Yunji interrupted loudly. She pushed past the others to stand beside Yura. "This girl is my granddaughter now. That baby is my great-granddaughter. I do not care what planet you come from. Family is family." North blinked at the tiny old woman who was speaking so boldly to alien royalty. "You are her grandmother?" "I adopted her. Is that a problem?" For the first time in recorded history, Princess Norith of the Valari Empire did not have a response. Dohyun stepped forward. "Chancellor Mekris, you came here expecting to take my wife and child back as property. That will not happen. But if you came here to build a bridge between our peoples, then you are welcome in our home." Mekris's face tightened. "The Emperor demands." "The Emperor sent his daughter away as a joke," Yura interrupted. "He lost the right to demand anything from her." She softened her voice slightly. "But I will speak to him. I will bring Sola to meet her grandfather. Not as a prisoner or a specimen, but as family. And if he refuses, then that is his loss." Yura smiled down at her daughter. "Because she is extraordinary, and anyone who cannot see that does not deserve to know her." The negotiations took 3 more hours, but in the end, Mekris agreed. Yura would return to Valari Prime voluntarily with her husband and child. She would present herself to the council as a reformed member of the royal family. Not as a joke or a failure. As the Valari delegation prepared to leave, Velith approached Yura one last time. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "For years, I treated you terribly. I called you worthless behind your back. I laughed when they sent you away. I know. I was wrong. I was stupid and cruel, and I'm sorry." Yura considered her sister. 30 years of pain could not be erased with a few words. But holding on to that pain would only poison the future. "I forgive you," she said finally. "Not because you deserve it, but because I am tired of carrying that weight." Velith's eyes glistened. "Thank you. Do not thank me. Prove me right. When we return to Valari Prime, stand with me. Help me change things. Help me make sure no other princess is ever thrown away like I was. I will try. And that is enough. The delegation left. The cameras stopped filming. The crowd dispersed. That night, Yura sat on the porch of the clinic with Doyen. Sola slept peacefully in her basket between them. The stars were bright above, familiar constellations mixing with the distant lights of the Valari Empire. "Are you nervous about going back?" Dohyun asked, terrified. "But you are going anyway. Someone has to show them what they lost, what they could gain." She looked at him. "Besides, I have you. And Sola, whatever happens, I have a family to come home to." Dohyun took her hand. "Always." 10 years later, Sola stood in her grandfather's garden on Valari Prime. She had grown into a remarkable child. Half human, half Valari, entirely herself. Her silver hair was tied back in a practical braid. Her dark eyes sparkled with intelligence. She spoke 3 languages fluently and was learning 2 more. Emperor Varth sat across from her on a stone bench. He had grown old in the past decade. His silver skin had faded to gray, and he moved slowly now. But his eyes were clear as he watched his granddaughter. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" he asked her. Sola thought about this carefully. She always thought carefully. It was a habit she had learned from her mother. "A bridge," she said finally. "A bridge? Like Mama and Appa. They connected 2 worlds that did not know they belonged together. I want to do that too. Find things that are different and show them how they can fit." Vorth looked at this impossible child. This miracle born from a joke. This living proof that his empire, for all its power and pride, had been wrong about so many things. "Your mother was the strongest of my children," he said quietly. "I was too foolish to see it. I sent her away because I thought she was broken. Instead, she built something more powerful than any empire." "What did she build?" "A family." He reached out and touched her cheek gently. "You are my legacy now, Sola. Not the ships or the armies or the conquered worlds. You. And that is better than anything I could have imagined." Sola smiled. It was her father's smile, warm and bright and full of kindness. "I love you, Harabioji," she said, using the Korean word for grandfather, the emperor of the Valari, ruler of 12 star systems. Felt tears on his face for the first time in centuries. "I love you too, little one." And across the galaxy, in diplomatic halls and scientific journals and whispered conversations, the story spread. They sent the infertile princes to the humans as a joke, but the humans did not laugh. They loved, and that made all the difference.